Hi everyone. I had a go at making something watching another video today, and it was by Tanu Creative, and I made this little mini pop-up photo album. So I'll show you what I made, and then I'm going to adapt it to make something for my journals. So this is the cover, and I've put a little embossed unicorn on the cover, and when you open it up, it's got a little saying on it, "Be a unicorn in a field of horses." And then when you open the album, it's got this lovely pop-up element to it, and I've put all of the images from the scrapbook papers in the unicorns kit at studio19digitals.com. So there's 40 of these scrapbook images, and so I've used all of those to make this album. And what I thought I'd do, so that's a rather large album, and that's, if you look at it on the side, that's the kind of structure that you get. And as a finished product, that's quite chunky, so that finishes, it's probably 3/4 of an inch thick at that thickest point. So what I thought I'd do is have a go at making one, and what I've got on my desk is some papers that I've printed from the Dragons papers, and so I've gone into the settings on my printer and chosen, in the page layout, chosen 16 pages per sheet. So I've printed 24 of the images. There are more, but I wanted to reduce the size of this and have it something that could be a pop-up element, perhaps on the front cover. So I'll show you what I did to adapt what Tanu Creative did to what I'm working with. So because I'm in Australia, I've got A4 paper, but I'll give you the method and you can adapt it to any size images that you've got and any size paper that you're working with. So the A4 size paper, these images come out to, I need about 2 3/4 of an inch to fit one image across. And if I bring back this sample, I've got 8 images to a page, and each image is 2 3/4. Well, I need 2 3/4 for each image to have a small amount around the outside of it, about 1/8 of an inch. So the page width for me to fit 2 of these images that I print on my paper, I need 5.5 for my page width. So that's how I came up with that measurement. And then for the height measurement for each of these images, I need 2 inches. So I need each one of these little panels to be 2 inches, and so that gives me the 8 inches. So if you work out what you're working with, you can adjust that measurement to fit your images. And I think starting with the images is the best idea, because then you can make this fit the images. So with 16 per sheet, that's what I'm going to work with. And I'll just show you quickly what I do to cut them. I'm going to make the base of it and leave the cover for the moment. So let me just clear those. So what I want to do to make these panel pieces, so each one of those, is I want to cut 3 of them, because I've got the 24 images. So I want to cut 3 of those panels, which will give me 8 each panel. And I want to cut them at 5.5 by 8 inches. So this paper is, so I can get 2 5.5s that way, give me 11, and the 8 inches I can get that way. And I need to do that with 2, because I need 3 sheets for 24 images. And then I need 3 pieces that are 5.5 by 8. So there's my 3 pieces. And I forgot to mention, the paper that I'm using is, this is the Stampin' Up paper. It doesn't have the GSM on the packaging anywhere, but it feels like it's around 200 or so, 220 maybe GSM. So that's what I need for the 3 panels, and you don't get a lot of wastage from that. So that will give me 3 of these panels. This one has 40 images in it. I'm going to work with 24. So that gives me my 3 panels of 8. And now what I need is this piece here, which is going to, these are going to adhere to that. So for that, I'm just going to cut 2 pieces that are 5.5 by 8. So I'll bring this back. And again, I'll make that 8 inches. And 2 pieces that are 5.5 again, or the same width as the other ones. Now to score, I'll explain this using this. So there's a piece of paper here that, so if I fold that along, that then this panel section adheres to. So I need to score that in half. So for my 2 pieces, these are 8 inches long, I need this to be scored at 4. So I've put the 8-inch line across there and I'm scoring them in half at 4. And just get that to sit square. And now these are my 3 panel pieces. So these are going to be these pieces. So I need to score at 2, 4 and 6 for the images that I've got here. So on all 3 pieces, I'm going to score at 2, 4 and 6. Now to crease these, I want, if I show you again on the sample, I want this W shape. And so I want the middle crease to be a mountain and the other 2 pieces to be a valley. So if I fold this middle piece first and just make sure I get that square on these ends, and then fold my 2 valley pieces up, so you're going to end up with that W shape. So do that on all 3 pieces. And when you're burnishing everything, try and keep this edge, this open edge, try and keep that the edge that stays straight, and that will make more sense when I put it together for you. So that's my 3 pieces that's going to hold my photos. And now what I need to do is take these pieces and I'm going to adhere the back of this piece. So I've got the inside card, the card open on the inside, and I'm going to adhere the back of this piece and the back of this piece to that so that I make that shape. So you're basically just making sure you keep your mountain in the middle popping to the inside of the card. And the important thing when you're adhering it is that you keep these edges, these outside edges, really squared up. So just keeping it squared, this corner and that corner, flip it over and make sure everything's aligned. You don't get long. And then lie your card down to make sure that your whole square is aligned, and just burnish that down. So that's that. It's my card folding in half. That's my top edge adhered, and now this edge needs to be adhered to that, and that will make us that shape. Again, just squaring off those two corners to make sure it's all nice and square. It should lay, when you lay it down like this, it should lay completely, one card on top of the other. And flip it over, just make certain that nothing's moved. So now I've got that shape. So if I bring back the example, I've got this first part here with that part popping out. So I'm going to do that again. And I want my mountain popping out. So I'm going to adhere the back of this part. And this side as well. So that's, I've got my two panels. Now I'll just explain using the example. I'm changing the way that it was made in the video. Here's so this piece here. Here's my first piece here. And then for each one of these sections, I've glued two of these pieces together like that, which is how it was done in the video. That makes this really thick and quite stiff and also bulky in height. So I'm changing it, and we'll see how it works out for this one. So what I'm going to do with mine, instead of having another third card and gluing them back to back, I'm just going to glue this piece into the middle like that. So again, with my mountain up, I'm gluing this back panel. And hopefully this will just reduce the bulk and the stiffness in the final product. And because I'm using quite sturdy cardstock, it just was a bit too much in the sample. So again, with my mountain up, I'm going to glue that to there. Just make sure that's all sitting nicely, and again, this should all sit perfectly flat, one on top of the other. And it's really important that you do keep this as square as you can possibly make it. So now that's my first piece, that's my middle section, and then this card is going to sit like that. So I'm going to glue the back of this piece to here. And again, everything is flush and it's all perfectly aligned, which is exactly what I need. Okay, so now you can see, if I bring back the example, this one has 40 images, 8 per page, so it has 5 pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one I have 24 images, so I've got 3 pages, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, now when this all comes together in here, it gets glued to a cover. And I'm going to leave the cover for the moment. So if I was to make the cover, I would have another piece that's the same measurement as this. So that would be 8 by 5.5. I'd score that in half. So for example, that piece, and I would glue that to that. But I'm not going to do that for the moment because I want this to be an interactive element that might sit, I'm thinking sitting on the cover of the journal and figuring out some tie down, maybe a Velcro tab or something, so that you can flip up the images like this. And so that back of this would be adhered to the journal, and then I'd work out some way of putting that on. So I'm going to do that last. So now the next step, now that I've got my base, is to cut down my images. And just a hint, I'm taking this blade off because I'm keeping that blade for cardboard. Because what I've found, if you're using the same cutter, this is a new blade, if you cut thick cardstock like this, it cuts it beautifully, but then it shreds the paper when you cut thinner paper. So I try and keep a spare blade just in my drawer for the cardstock. So now with my images, I've designed this to take these full size. So I'm going to cut these into the height, just the full size of the image. My images are all cut, and I've just popped a paper clip on this loose section just to sort of hold it together for me. So this could be the front cover. And so now what I want to do is set my images into positions that I like. So I'm just going to go through my images and sort of sit them into place. So I'm happy with that lot. And I'm not gluing them down yet because it gives me an opportunity to move things around as I need to. So just go through and place your images the way that you want them. And that way, if there's something that you don't like, you can easily move it around. So I think that's how I'm going to have mine. And so now when you're gluing them in, I know I've just got enough room to have, so before I glue things down, just sort of eyeball where you're going to go, and then just try and keep the images aligned as you go through, and try not to over glue because you don't want any of this glue seeping out. So close to the end of the image, but not too close. And then that one is where I want the alignment. So I'm just going to try and keep the space on the right side and the bottom even, and do the same on the opposite side. And if you were going to ink, obviously you'd do that before you glued them down. So now I'm trying to match that space and keep everything in line. And just work your way through and adhere all of those images down. I have all my photos glued down, and I just tried to make sure that I kept them as straight as I could, that this line down the middle stays fairly accurate. And it's not perfect, but it's good enough. So I'll just flick through. So this is the finished item at the moment. So it's not too thick, which is what I wanted. So it's probably 3/8 of an inch. And if I flick through quickly and show you, so there's my 8 images. There's another 8. And there's another 8. So that's 24 images. And the only thing I'm going to do now is so at the moment I've got these 2 separate pieces here. And what I've done is I've just cut one of the scraps, I've just folded it in half, and I'm going to glue that into position here so that these still open fully, but it doesn't add too much bulk. I can't glue, I was originally thinking about gluing these 2 pieces together at that point, but then that doesn't work. It doesn't open properly. So that's why I've chosen this as a solution. So I'm just going to quickly glue that into place. And then, as I said, with the sample I've shown you, you can see that you can make a cover and make it as a standalone item. But because I want to add mine to the cover and have it fixed to the cover, I'm not going to do that at this moment. So I'm just going to get this into place. And that will dry clear. And as I said, I don't know yet what I'm going to do to finish this, but you can see there that it's just a really nice interactive item to add to your journal, and makes the most out of your digitals because you're resizing them, and it's a great way to display really pretty things. So, you know, sitting that on a journal page by putting them two images across, it's going to fit when the cover's on this journal. It will sit nicely on the cover with a nice closure on it, perhaps at the bottom, and you'll be able to flick through, maybe have a little Velcro tab or a closure of some sort. I'll figure that out later. But they're the two samples. So again, this one has the 40 images in it, and that's done with the unicorn papers. And this one has the 24 images with the dragons. And if I put them side by side, you can see there the difference in thickness. So this one would be great just as a little standalone gift. But this one, like I said, I just wanted it to fit on the journal and have as a nice interactive. And so that's the finished project. It was fun to make, and I'll link Tanu Creative's website below if you wanted to make this one, and you could follow along with hers. And like I said, I just adapted her process to make it fit the size of my images, and changing the structure a little bit just to make sure that it's not so bulky and it will fit nicely on the front of a journal. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.